Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. Happy to be in front of the microphone, if I can get the words out properly, for the first time in a little while, because I have not been here for the past few post games. The team here at Knicks Film School was kind enough to give me a little time off to spend some time with the fam, put up the old tree and the whole thing. And I am very happy to be here, not talking to Jeremy Cohen. Jeremy's a little bit busy with some work stuff, but filling in admirably. Is a man I'm very excited to talk to about the Knicks because they're doing well, and I like talking to this person when the Knicks are doing well. I like talking to this person always. It's Benjy Ritholtz. Hello, Benjy.
Hello. Just don't ask me to do any math. Don't ask me to crunch any numbers because I cannot do any of those things. Always stepping in humbly for the brilliant Jeremy Cohen, but thrilled to be here. Very excited to come on here with a winning streak in tow. I'm often doing post games after awful losses. Somehow, John, you have the magic touch of putting me in terrible situations. This is great. I'm enjoying myself. So can't wait to get to it.
So someone tweeted at me or you or the KFS account or something that implying that I don't want to put words in this person's mouth. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but speaking of a sort of a Benjy curse.
Yeah. If it was out there.
Yes. That if Benjy was assigned to a post game, the Knicks were going to lose the game. And I know that is not true because you were on for one of the biggest wins of last season.
Yeah. It was a this year thing. I think we were, but yeah, it was out there in the ether. I had some bad vibes and out on Twitter about my presence on the post game. So breaking the curse, although doing it for that Detroit game, which was as close as you can get to a loss without losing.
I don't know. So we're gonna talk about kind of the week in review, and we're also, because I feel like I haven't talked to you in a while about this. I mean, we text about the team like literally every day.
Yeah.
So it's not like I don't know what you're thinking, but I haven't got a chance to talk to you about the team in front of a mic in a while. So this will kind of be a bit of a big picture overview, but also zooming in on the week. So quick week in review. The Knicks started off by winning a game against the Hornets. That seems like a million years ago. I vaguely recall that was a game where they went up by 20 something points and then it was like tied and then they won by 20 something points. Does that sound accurate?
That sounds accurate. It was in season tournament push for point differential.
That's right.
So extending that lead back out was important at the time. The starters were in real late through the end. And it was a weird kind of game without LaMelo, but they took care of business at the end of the day.
They did, and that was good to see. But going into the potential Benjy curse game, there was a part of me that was a little nervous because I was like, I hadn't, and I'm gonna get to a point here, but like I was like, man, I really don't love how they've been playing, and like, you know, you've been watching basketball for. Basically, we've been both watching basketball for our entire lives, more or less. You probably longer than me because I didn't start watching until I was like 9 or 10. But like, you know that like losing streaks, there's like a cycle to them. Like it starts however it's going to start, and then it reaches like a depression point where a team just kind of accepts losing. But then it reaches another point where a team clearly is fed up with losing, and like something will happen that will start to turn the page on the streak, and it doesn't always result in a win. And I actually wonder if the Knicks game was sort of that turning point for the Pistons because they fought really hard and valiantly against the Cavs in what was that game last night. I actually watched for a lot of that. I bet they're going to get a win soon. But like my long story short is, I was worried it was going to be that night, and they played their worst ball of the season. Either that or the Pelicans game, right? But the Pelicans game was like they were just dead tired. This was something different, and I'd like for you to speak to that because you did a brilliant post game with some days to reflect. How do you feel about that Pistons game?
Yeah, now that it's just in the win column, and in the moment you're staring down the barrel of a back-to-back traveling to Toronto, where Julius played 40 minutes, Brunson played 38.
My God.
So a lot of the frustration was like fearful of what was to come. I thought was going to be a tough matchup. The way they took care of business in Toronto now obviously changes my perspective about how important or serious that Detroit game was. Like, end of the day, now it's a win. It doesn't totally matter. And I don't think it was reflective of anything that would apply to real high stakes games for this team. Like, I thought it was a classic case of taking an opponent lightly. They came out with zero energy from literally the first play. But like, that doesn't worry me about anything with high stakes in the future. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very kind of unique situation. Where they're playing a team that hasn't won in a month, literally a month.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of thought they could waltz in there and win, which they kind of did at the end of the day. They kind of waltzed in there and win, they got serious at some point with like 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter and pulled away. So I don't know. With some days removed, I am less frustrated because of the way the Toronto game went. The fact that at the end of the day, it's a win, is a win, is a win, is a win, is a win. The team's playing well. So I would say I've chilled out a bit.
Oh, I'm happy you put it like that, because I was feeling very much the same way, and I was worried that there was something more, that I was worried that I should be worried, basically, because I was going into the Toronto game and I was like, man, this team's won 9 of 12 games. Like, think about that for a second. It's not easy it doesn't matter who's on your schedule. It's hard to win 9 of 12 games in the NBA. But I was like looking at it and I'm just like going back briefly. It's like, okay, we talked about the Detroit game, the Charlotte game, they let the Hornets back in. I was not terribly impressed by the Phoenix loss. I agree. I think I heard you say this, or maybe you tweeted or maybe texted or whatever. I get lost of all the ways that I communicate with you. But like, it was something along the lines of like, Phoenix is not a bad team, even without Kevin Durant. Phoenix, that's not a bad team. And when Eric Gordon's feeling it, it's like, you know, he could do it. Then you had the Miami game where they played pretty crappy basketball for most of 3 quarters and then had one of the greatest quarters under Tom Thibodeau. The Minnesota game was uninspiring, to put it politely. I still don't know how they were tied in that game at the half. And then before that, you had 6 wins in 7 games, but those wins came against the Hornets, the Wizards. The Hawks was a good win. That was a really good win. Lost by 16 at Boston, game that they hung tight and then got their doors blown off towards the end. And then before that, again, Charlotte, San Antonio. These are not good teams. And then the win that kind of got them started on this streak, which was against the Clippers, which was big in the moment. And even in retrospect, I think it's big, but like, it's very clear that the Clippers were still figuring things out and had a ways to go.
It was first Harden game. So yeah, it was the beginning of an experiment for them.
So like, I go through all of that as an excuse for myself, because I'm going to say, I didn't think they had a chance of, not that they didn't have a chance of winning the Toronto game, but going into the Toronto game, I was like, here's how this is going to go. They're going to get down by like 7 or 8 or 9 after the first quarter. The Raptors will gradually build the lead up to like 15 or 16 or 17. The Knicks will hang around. It'll be a double-digit game that we've all seen. They'll cut it to, you know, maybe 2 possessions or something in the fourth, and then they're just going to run out of gas because they had to expend so much energy to beat the Pistons. If I could have bet on that scenario, if you would give me good enough odds, I'd be like, absolutely, take my money. And I was just utterly dead wrong, because apparently I still don't know this team, and or I don't know what it is, but I just wanted to open with that and see what you thought of my assumption. Now, in retrospect, they played arguably the best game of the season.
No, I felt the same way. You know, probably a lot of listeners know I observe the Jewish Sabbath. I don't watch games Friday night, Saturday. I find out about the score of the game through the newspaper on Saturday morning.
That's amazing.
Which is, it's like an old school, it's like maintaining kind of this like old school sports fandom where I find out what happens through the paper. New York Post comes, I see some ridiculous headline, and I was expecting some like, I don't know, Toronto or some stupid, you know, like the dumb headlines that they come out with. And my 5-year-old runs out and grabs the paper for me. It's like his favorite thing to do on Saturday morning. It's awesome. He brings it in. I open it up, and it's like Josh Hart celebrating I'm like, wow, look at this. I too was very surprised because of the minutes load in Detroit. It's a tough, you're traveling into a back-to-back on the road. They've had, as you mentioned, they've had a terrible time in Toronto over the last many years. And they put up a really, really strong performance, And a lot of guys showed me something in that game. It was, to your point, it's been a softer-ish schedule of late. I think a lot of good teams lose one or two of the games that you just mentioned just because they do. And it is worth complimenting this team for just getting the job done each and every night. That these games have come onto their schedule where teams are struggling, teams are terrible, teams are figuring it out, whatever. But like at the end of the day, you got to win the games. They've won every single one of these games, and against these bad teams. Toronto's not a bad team. They've been playing some good ball. Scotty Barnes looks like Scotty Barnes is really good, man. Scotty Barnes is really good, and he showed it in that game. And he put up a great game. And frankly, the Knicks dominated them in the second half. That was not that close a game in the fourth quarter. They just outplayed them. They showed they were the better team. And when I watched it back Saturday night, I was like, this is an extremely impressive win. An extremely impressive win for the Knicks. One, if not the most impressive of the year, it's up there.
I think it was my most impressive win of the season because, like, yeah, they won those two. You can kind of call them track mates against the Hawks in Atlanta. Like the Hawks are a good team. They're a decent team, right? They're okay.
Last time I checked their net rating and whatever, like they should be better than they've been. Like
I'll pull it up right. Yeah, they've been
the numbers look good, and it's just they haven't won a lot of close games. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of talent on that team for sure.
They're one game under 500. They have positive net rating. So you take away the two Knicks games, they're actually above 500. Like those were solid, but like there's like something about games with Atlanta. They lack they lack the seriousness, but like the Knicks know that they could win that game.
I think the Knicks have a good formula against them that they have figured out. And you can, the fact that Brunson can attack Trae, this is a sidetrack, but the fact that Brunson can always get to Trae Young when he wants to, the fact that it's always a rolling big, right? Which is where the Knicks are most comfortable defensively. It's Capella, it's Okongwu, it's a pretty standard pick and roll attack that the Knicks, their base scheme just works really well. They get it. They know what they have to do. So yeah, there is something since that playoff series, obviously, but the regular season performances and since the Tibbs era have been really, really good against the Hawks.
Yeah, and then the Miami game was just like to me, I look at that game, that's like a blue moon. It's like I don't know what happened in the fourth quarter. I mean, I know what happened in the fourth quarter, but like I think some of that had to do with Miami, some of that had to do with obviously what the Knicks are doing, but I don't. That was not an impressive performance from the Knicks from top to bottom. This was impressive. Like this was, and I'm the reason I'm kind of dwelling on this Toronto game, one, because they always or seem to always play poorly, especially in Toronto, but also just against this Raptors team they struggle with for reasons that I thought you documented when you sent your tweet before the game about the potential matchups. Like there's no great way to match up against this team. So it makes me feel it makes me feel much better about where they're at going into this in-season tournament, which we're going to talk about in a second, than I think I would have like otherwise, like without seeing that performance. It gives me a lot of confidence moving forward.
Yeah, and you know what else was impressive about it is they lost a possession battle. Toronto played a very Knicks game. They were all over the offensive glass, couldn't make a shot. But had several more possessions. I think 10 more possessions than the Knicks had, 10 more shots than the Knicks had. And the Knicks just shot the ball so much better than them. I think it was 16 to 6 threes on the night, which is hard to overcome for any team. But the Knicks, right? That's been the Knicks trying to overcome the shooting deficit. But this team, with the additions they've made and with the evolution of Jalen Brunson, seem to have found themselves in a place where they can outshoot teams. That is not something you could really say last year. And that might be a game changer. And they actually outshot from three each game of this week. They outshot their opponents. They lost the possession battle against Charlotte as well. Mm-hmm. And they won through superior 3-point shooting. So that is something to monitor going forward. Like, of course, we want the Knicks to win the possession battle, do what they do. But the ability to pivot and win games in other ways, including by shooting the basketball well and effectively, that changes the outlook a bit going forward. And that's something that about this Toronto game, I think that is specifically encouraging. is that they won in a different way.
And they've won a few games in that. So, I mean, they've obviously been a great offensive rebounding team all year. They've been a great defense. They've been just a great rebounding team, period, all year, taking care of the ball, all the shit they did last year. But, and JJ Redick on his podcast, I think it was a few days ago, the pod came out, when he was talking with Tim Legler, kind of hit on this, which is like, now that you have all of these shooters, and it's not just good shooters, they're good shooters on decent volume. Like the Knicks don't have that one guy who's taken, 8 or 9 or 10 threes a game. Although Brunson now, I guess, what is he up
for Jalen? It's coming.
Is he? Do you think he gets up to? What do you think he gets to this year?
I don't have the number in front of me. I know it's been rising.
It has been rising.
I don't think he's at 8 or 9 yet. But like,
he's not at 8 yet.
Why the hell not? Why the hell not? Like, why? Like, I'm done capping this guy as a shooter. It's just so no. They don't have that one guy yet. Might be coming. It
might, but the other thing they do have in addition to Brunson, and listen, Brunson deserves all of the flowers. I mean, I want to wax, we'll wax poetic about Jalen Brunson a little bit when we give out game balls, because I'm pretty sure he's getting one from one of us, but like we'll see. He's at 7.0, 7 on the dot, 3-point attempts per game. I mean, you look at the last 3 years, he was at 4.7 last year. And then the year before that, he was at 3.2 with a little bit less minutes. So, like, we thought he made a jump last year.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing compared to the jump he made now.
He's already made more pull-up threes this year than he did 2 years ago.
It's wow. So, I'm happy you said pull-up threes, because, again, Brunson should get all the flowers. They have a second guy in Emmanuel Quickly who, like, he always gets lost in the sauce here, and he's probably worst. Not that he was bad against Toronto, but these were the least impressive consecutive games, I think, for me, he's had since like the very beginning of the year, which I'm not worried about Emmanuel Quickly. The point remains, he's also a really, really good pull-up three-point shooter, decent volume, not Brunson volume, partially because he doesn't play as much, but he takes a good amount and he hits them at a really nice clip. So, and then when you throw in all the catch and shoot guys, Benjy, they're on the borderline of being top 10 in both accuracy and frequency, according to Clean the Glass.
Yeah.
There's no one in the league who's in the top 10 in both right now?
Wow. No, that I didn't know. I just looked up these numbers.
Actually,
to make the point that you just made.
I might be wrong by that.
Boston's not in?
So Boston is 13th in accuracy. Okay. And I actually may have just misspoken because I did a third criteria, top 10 in defense as well. So the Knicks are 5th in defense. They're 9th in accuracy. They're 11th in frequency. So they're right there being top 10 in all three of those. Boston's obviously has great defense and they take more threes than anybody, but they're a little bit lower in accuracy. I'm sure that'll jump up. But like, man, if they could keep the defense going and they keep shooting it like this, that's a formula. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I don't have to tell you, it's a formula for success.
No, 100%. That's where I think the Toronto game is kind of was so impactful and like influential, because it was just like kind of a wake up call. Like, Toronto's a terrible shooting team. The Knicks knew it. They packed the paint. They forced them to beat them that way. They made 6 threes on the night. The Knicks make 16. And it's like, this team can outshoot you. And that is a marked change from a year ago. And it's what's interesting about it is it's without Julius. It's with Julius regressing big time from 3, both in frequency and accuracy.
Yep.
And it's been kind of reallocated. Now Randall's volume was important last year, but he was still only a 34% shooter, whatever it was. Now you're reallocating some of his 3-point attempts to guys like DiVincenzo and Quickly and Brunson, who are all really good shooters. And I think Grimes' shot will come along. So what DiVincenzo adds to this team as a shooter, you take away, Obi, who was taking, per minute, taking a lot of threes last year. And you replace his shooting with DiVincenzo. And now Josh Hart seems to be with a more willing trigger. So yeah, there's a lot of, RJ's kind of regressed now to where we thought he'd be, but still encouraging signs as a shooter. So like a lot of options to shoot the 3 ball, and they have guys who can create threes for others. So we're talking about a little bit of a different upside if the team can become a really good shooting team.
How much do you think, because the next thing I want to get to is Julius. You think that was his best game of the season?
Yeah, I think so.
He's had some
I could be forgetting one. To be like but it was, whether it was his best or not. The way the word for that game was relentless. He was just relentlessly attacking the paint against a team, again, with all that size. They can throw a lot of bodies at him that you wouldn't think it would be like the dominating performance. You got Siakam, you got Barnes, you got Anunoby, and you got Achua, and nobody keep him out of the paint all night. He was in the paint all night and then making passes to create shots, whether he was scoring, and then he's passing for direct assists, and then he's getting a bunch of hockey assists. I'm going to put out something tomorrow about all his paint touches and what it created. It was remarkable what he created through his drives and post-ups relentlessly throughout the game. Just a dominating performance by Julius. And if he's not going to make threes and not going to take as many threes, well, if he's doing that, you can survive it.
So that's why I wanted to go to Julius after talking about the 3-point shooting, because I can't harp on this Toronto game enough. Again, we're not going to see that every time. Like, they're not going to make 16 of whatever threes they made, but like that version of Julius with this version of Brunson, and Brunson didn't even have a great game. He had a very good game, but like now the standard is so high that's like an average Jalen Brunson game. Like, that's what we've just come to expect.
Yep.
And then, with Julius and kicking out to these shooters and their ability to put the shooters on the floor, and Josh Hart has been reawakened. I don't know where he was the first 16 games of the year. He was somewhere.
He was just waiting to complain to the press. He just had to get it off his chest.
It was a great tweet.
I say this sort of jokingly, but maybe that's what some people, when I put out a tweet that was like critical of his kind of press, but
you were right.
Some people, but I feel like I stand by it, but some people I think had a good point in responding to me, which was like, man, some people just need to talk it out. Some people just need to talk it out. And maybe for him that was important. I don't know. Or maybe it's just he found his rhythm again. But yeah, it's obviously like this was his best week by a light year. I mean, He was all 3 games really good, and I thought against Toronto was exceptional.
Yeah, totally. So you add that into the mix, and you can start to have some notions about what this team is maybe capable of doing this year. So we have a couple discussion points Andrew wanted us to hit on. Shout out, by the way, APJP is on the 1s and 2s tonight. But Andrew's always pulling the strings. He loves being in control, even when he's not here. So we talked about the Detroit versus the Toronto games, and how we're feeling at 12-7. So this question: what do you believe is the Knicks' best 5-man lineup after 19 games? My reaction to this is that there is no one, which is obviously we're both going to have to give an answer. Otherwise, Andrew's going to yell at me for not giving him good content to put forth on the Knicks Film School, channels and whatnot. So we'll both give an answer. But I don't think you can answer this question because it's so different night to night, not only matchup dependent, but like different guys are feeling it on different nights. Like we could say like when everybody's at their best or when everybody's like kind of relatively at their best, like what 5-man lineup makes the most sense. But like, what are your thoughts after 19 games, what are your general thoughts about this question before you give an answer?
It's an interesting question. And that looks, Andrew, he asks good questions. That's why he's good at what he does.
He does.
I think that you can go a lot of different ways. And the emergence of this like Nova lineup, I've seen some good nicknames proposed, whether it's the Nova Seals,
whether it's Nova Core,
Supernova, whatever you call it, that lineup has looked juicy in this recent stretch. With
can I give you a stat,
please,
quickly? So I think I've kept this all straight. I can't make any promises, but I've tried to continue keeping track of their closing lineups. Disregarding games that were blowouts, which I have, there were 8 that I have as having been garbage time games. And then the Nova lineup is the first lineup, according to what I've been able to record, that has closed 3 games. He has used 8 different closing lineups in games of consequence this year. Yep. And the Nova one is the only one that I have has closed 3 games. And the only other one that I have that has closed 2 games of consequence is Brunson, Quickly, RJ, Julius, and actually Hartenstein. It was, I believe, the first game of the year, and then a game recently where Mitch was, I forget what was going on with Mitch. I don't even remember which. Was it the Miami game, maybe? I forget. Whatever.
Hartenstein did close the Miami game.
Okay. So I think coming into the year, you would have guessed Brunson, Quickly, RJ, Julius, and then probably Mitch, but like a center would have been the most likely closing lineup. Although I don't know. So what? Yeah, but
I would have said the lineup that kind of dominated the league at the second half of last year, which
with Hart
remains an absurdly effective lineup. Which and that'll be my answer ultimately, despite this Nova emergence. So
Hart and Quickly, to be clear.
Brunson, Quickly, Hart, Randall, Robinson. We're talking, 118 possessions, plus 31.4 differential according to Clean the Glass, 99th percentile across the board. That lineup remains. It's been one of the best. It's been
better this year than last year.
It's been one of the best lineups in the league now for what we're getting close to, like, 60 games, something. I don't know. So it's that is my answer. Okay. But the exciting thing about it is that they have all of this versatility, and you can plug in guys. They're all starter caliber players. They have 9 guys, and that is unique in this league, and it's rare. And I put out my stupid grades every night, and this guy Santino,
I love it.
Santino's a legend. This guy is creating like Excel spreadsheets, like putting together my grades. He gives ratings based on the grades. And you look across these ratings and, over a large sample size, I think it does tell you something. Everyone on the team is somewhere between an 80 and a 90.
Yeah.
Right. If you're thinking in like 2K terms, it's kind of a stupid way to think about it, but it's also, I think, reflective of a team that has 9 guys who aren't all that far apart, but are all really good.
Yep.
And to Tibbs' credit, we've always asked him to use his depth as a weapon. He is doing that. He is doing that this year. To your point, all these different closing lineups, depending on matchup, depending on who's playing well, and it's worked. Like it's all kind of worked. So it's that's my answer. I'm curious to hear yours, but overall, like, it is a tremendous luxury that this team has. That you can plug in and can close a game effectively for you.
To your point about how good everybody's been, like I hate even, I don't want to use this word, but like if you had to pick, if you had to pick a worst Knick, my daughter has this thing now. I don't know if your kids are old enough to do this or if they do this, where anytime we either like see like a movie with a bunch of characters, or like, let's say she draws like 7 pictures or something, or she like plays a few different pieces of music on the piano, she'll be like, what was your least favorite? And I'll be like, I don't have a least favorite. I enjoyed all of them.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, but if you had to pick, I'm like, no, I don't, I'm not going to pick, because it implies that I dislike something. Right. And she's like, okay, which did you love the least?
The least.
Like, stop it. So this is
which family member do you love the least?
I'm going to be the dad that always tells, I'm not having any more kids. So like, I will tell the one daughter that like secretly, you can't tell, but you're my favorite. I'll tell each of them that as they grow up, and then hopefully that doesn't blow up in my face. Grimes,
yeah,
the again, quote unquote worst Knick, fair to say.
Oh yeah. Okay. I think unquestionably. Okay.
And yet, I was watching your thread of the Raptors game, and it's like, man, third year. We've said all this before, I know, but like third year player, tough role. He's still doing a lot of the dirty work, and like, yeah, there's more he could be doing. There's more he probably should be doing. There's maybe more that they could be doing. It all comes together. But like, if that's your worst player, I mean, shit, you're probably a pretty good team.
100%. It's going to get better also. And what I liked about the Toronto game, and as you know, I put it out on the game thread on the Knicks Film School account, is like, just did some little things to really help them win. And I do think there have been games this year where when the offense isn't going, you just haven't felt him. Yep. Even defensively, where he was so good last year. There are games where he got pushed around, wasn't physical enough. He was really good. They got the Scotty Barnes assignment, and Barnes did a lot of damage kind of on mid-range jumpers, made a couple threes. Yep. Didn't really beat the Knicks up inside, and that's a credit to Grimes. I mean, Josh Hart ended up playing more than him and got that assignment more often, but Grimes fought him and boxed him out and made some plays in transition defense that were huge. And then to see the drive game start to slowly creep back in, where he hasn't had any of that. He hasn't had any of that this year. It's been gone, absent, no free throws all season. And those dump off passes that we saw pretty regularly last year are gone. And to see him get to the line just on an aggressive attack, and then to make a drop off pass to Mitch, because
love that pass. Unless
they think he's going to score on a drive, they're not going to guard him. And if they don't guard him, there's no drop off pass available, right? So it's the attack initially that gets the foul call. And now that drop off opens up. It's about driving to score, showing a little bit more aggression. Even though he didn't make a shot last night, I just thought it was a positive step. And we're just waiting now. I still believe in the jump shot wholeheartedly. That's going to come. They got to get him more shots. We talk about that all the time. But I do. If he's the worst Nick and it's going to get better from there, they're in really good shape. And by the way, he'll close games this year. It's not over for him. He's going to close games this year because he's really important to what they do. There are certain matchups where his defense is of paramount importance, and he's still going to space the floor for you. So patience with Grimes. You have 8 other guys performing at or above the expected level. So a lot to be excited about.
Before I say my closing lineup, but why? What did I want to ask? Oh, that's right. Why do you hate RJ Barrett?
I don't.
He says very facetiously.
No, RJ. Look,
let me rephrase
RJ had an injury.
He did,
which we don't really know exactly what was going on. Is that fair to say?
I think that. Yeah. Still waiting for the explanation about why a guy with migraines is in a very loud arena and
hasn't been the same since he came back.
No.
And I think, the 3-point shooting, again, we all expected was going to regress. That's one thing. But it's that some of the 2-point shots and attempts have looked much worse since he came back. And the patience is, I think he's starting to force things a little bit. A couple of takes last Friday night against Toronto. That you just those are old RJ straight line, no plan kind of takes that you just want him to cut out. But so we're just trying to refine that groove that he had early in the season. But I'm not giving up on that. And I'm not giving up on the playoffs last year. He's going to close games for us too. He already has, and he will continue to do so.
I bring him up completely and totally tongue in cheek. RJ is going to be fine. He's not playing his best ball right now. He will obviously play better. I believe that what we saw at the beginning of the season was there was something real to that, and it's just we need to kind of get back to that point. Which, again, how often do we say development isn't always linear? Mm-hmm. I at least wanted to honor RJ by mentioning him because, the honest truth is, right now, if I'm giving. Did you give me a thumbs up? Where'd that thumb? Did you see that?
That wasn't me. Yeah, where'd that come from?
It was the gods, the basketball gods. People listening to this are like, what are you talking about? A thumbs up just appeared in my video box. Maybe Justin
did. Andrew hear you talk about positively about RJ? And
that's it.
From the heavens, he sent you a thumbs up.
He sent it. He's after Brunson and Randall and Mitch, who are obviously going to be in my ideal closing lineup. RJ's running 4th right now behind quickly DiVincenzo and Hart. DiVincenzo because, and look, we talk about shooting not being sustainable when it reaches a certain level. Not DiVincenzo's hitting 53% of his threes over the last 8 games. It's
ridiculous.
I don't know what you're supposed to do with that. The reason I'm having my inclination is to agree with you. Just because the sample size is so strong, and it's we know how they operate and how much hell or havoc they could wreak on opposing teams. But man, leaving DiVincenzo out, is it possible he's entering his prime? And this is he's not a 52% 3-point shooter. Nobody is. But if he's pretty automatic as a catch and shoot guy, if you leave him open. there's a part of me that wants to find a way to get him into that closing lineup. And but who the hell? I mean, if you put him in for Hart, then you're kind of small, and then you don't have that ideal wing defender, right?
Yep.
And then if you put him in for Quickly, like Quickly's
awesome. That's the difficult balance, and why you're going to see different closing lineups. Like if you need to guard a point guard, you kind of want Grimes in there, and if it's not Grimes, then it's probably Quickly. And like DiVincenzo, we've talked about this before. Like defensive playmaker, really good instincts, amazing anticipation, not that great on ball. It's like you don't really want to throw. Although I will say his defense on on Cade down the stretch of that, where they brought him into close last 6-7 minutes. Cade had dominated the game for Detroit. The last 6-7 minutes, DiVincenzo was on him and did a phenomenal job. But in general, it can be a little bit loose at the point of attack. He's just a risk taker. He's not disciplined enough, I think, to where you want him on the best point guards in the league down the stretch of a game. So it just depends on the personnel. And like, if it's more of a wing heavy team and you can throw Josh Hart or RJ if he's in on the wings, and then DiVincenzo can guard an off ball player, you feel better about that, right? So it just kind of depends on the matchup. And I think that's a tremendous luxury to have, where it's like all these guys can come in and do the job, and it's just a matter of who's playing well. We want to keep out there, right? If Josh Hart's having one of his hesitant games and he's crushing the spacing, you don't want him in there. Okay, so RJ will come in or DiVincenzo. Like it's just. I really do think Tibbs has done a masterful job of kind of juggling that, and it's not easy. And guys get, minutes are precious. Guys care a lot about closing games. They have a lot of egos on the team, a lot of guys who think they should be in there. It's a luxury to have 9 guys who can close, but it's also difficult on the egos of 9 guys 4 of whom are not going to close every night. So it's a tough job in that sense, but I think he's done a great job of juggling those lineups late, figuring out who has it, who he needs in the specific matchup, and it's gone well in that sense.
Yeah. And it's part of why they are 12-7. Last thing before we give out game ball, looking ahead to the month of December, the aforementioned month of December. Here is, my God, there's a lot of ats, a lot of at symbols in this month. At Milwaukee, then TBD. Either they're gonna host. Someone's gonna have to explain to me how that works. That they will host Indiana if Indiana loses to Boston, because Indiana won their group. I don't know what's whatever. They will either host Indiana or they will go to Boston. Although it was announced a little while ago that Porzingis is going to miss the Pacer game, the in-season tournament game, with some kind of injury. From there, I guess theoretically they could play in the in-season tournament championship game if they win both of those matchups. That would be a nice thing. And then Toronto at home. Then 5-game road trip: Utah, Phoenix, Clippers, Lakers, ends at Brooklyn, which kind of not a road game, but Nets are feisty. Then back-to-back home games against the Bucks, because we just can't get enough of the Bucks.
Nope.
And then last 3 games of the month: at OKC, at Orlando, at Indiana. My Lord. I mean, what's a good? How many games did I just rattle off? I probably have kept count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, 6 and 7 would. I don't know if would I sign for that right now? I would have to think about signing for 6 and 7. This is a brutal fucking schedule, man.
Yeah, I think
7 and 6 without question.
Probably. I want to pull it up so I can kind of read off the games. But
dive in.
I think you want to win. So you got 3 against Milwaukee for sure. I think you want to win one. You realistically really want to win one of those. Don't want to go 0-3. Win one of them against Milwaukee. If it's the in-season tournament one Tuesday night, even better. But win one of those games at least. Then you got to win the Jazz game, right? That's a must.
Yeah, Jazz are kind of tanking.
I think you win one of the LA games, right? I think it's hard to sweep the Clippers and Lakers at Staples or whatever it's called now. I think you got to win one of those.
Beat the Nets.
beat the Nets.
Nets are feisty.
But they're a tough team. I mean, you got, that's a game with the schedule. I think you really look to circle that one. Hard to beat a team twice in a short amount of time, but try to go beat the Raptors again at home. I think they have a good formula against them now. And then, where does that put you? The Suns, even if you pencil in, let's say, they have KD back, whatever, you pencil in that is a loss, which certainly not the case. The Knicks can beat any of these teams, but just to be just taking a very kind of like realistic, like what would I take? What would I sign up for? I don't know what I just came out to, but yeah, game or two over 500 over the stretch. I mean, the OKC, Indiana, and Orlando, damn, win 2 of those games. Yeah. Screw that. Win 2 of them. Like, so Indiana, you're better than Indiana, right? And I think we're better than Orlando. And Orlando's been really good. Win 2 of those games, and you feel pretty good.
I think I kind of don't want to play Indiana until that game. I obviously, because if we don't play Indiana until that game, it means we beat Milwaukee in the in-season tournament game, and that means we're playing.
Well, you still might play Indiana if you win.
Oh wait, no, yeah, hold on.
You could play Indiana either way. If you win and they win, or if you lose and they lose.
That's right. Yeah. So either way, whatever. My point is, it would be cool to play Indiana and Orlando for the first time this season back to back, because they have been the 2 upstart teams, and I'm very curious. And you want to talk about 2 absolutely different animals in terms of how you have to approach those games.
Yeah, unique challenges, and that 3-game stretch are all kind of unique. OKC is a very strange team to play, a unique team. They play a different style. Stretch 5 that you have to worry about, which always scares me with the Knicks. And then Orlando's a smash mouth. They're going to make everything tough on Brunson and Julius. It's going to be, low 100s kind of game. And then Indiana is like, keep them out of the 140s and you feel pretty good.
Worst defense in league history, best offense in league history. You really
amazing. Absolutely amazing.
This is wild. So it sounds like you're at like 7-6, 8-5.
Absolutely. That sounds great to me. 8-5, I think, would be great. A great result. 7-6 would be a good result. 6-7, you could probably live with.
I think you phrased it the right way. You could live with 6 and 7. But let's go get a winning. If they, I mean, again, I always underestimate this team. So maybe I should stop doing that and think that they're going to win the month. We'll see what they do. Okay. Game balls. It is time. Given to a player, coach, or entity that stood out this week and deserves special recognition. As always, I will read off what Andrew Claudio has written here. Jalen Brunson. First entry, but this is weird. He's in lowercase, except for the first letter of his first and last name. 25, 4, and 8 this week. Shooting 12 of 25 from 3 in these 3 games. 48%. It's absurd. All caps. This is ridiculous. We're going to talk about it again in a second. Julius Randle is in all caps. So, Andrew, I ask you, again, you can't answer me because you're not here. If Julius Randle's in all caps, why is he not first on the list? I don't know. What's something going on here? 25, 13, and 7 this week on 55% shooting. He's back. Josh Hart talked his shit and then had his 3 best games of the season. No disagreement there. Dante DiVincenzo, 13 of 23 from 3 this week. It's just really ridiculous. And then last but not least, Alec Burks, no reason in particular, just good to see our old king, mostly for Benji.
AB, we miss you. Thanks for being absolutely awful in that Detroit game.
I was trying to say, he had a 3 in the corner, an attempted 3 in the corner that, like, if it had gone in, it would have not been. Well,
he missed a bunch of open ones in the corner. Yeah.
There's one I'm thinking of in the 4th.
Yeah. Anyway. I know exactly what you're talking about. Thanks, AB. We appreciate you.
Someone just give up a 2nd round pick to get that guy on a winning team, please.
I think he has what to give left. I can't say I've watched a ton of Alec Burks minutes this season.
He was shooting it great to start the year. I know.
Yeah. But even at the end of his Knicks tenure, the 2-point shooting was a red flag. Like, he had kind of really lost his ability to make layups because he couldn't jump anymore. His 3-point percentage was higher than his 2-point percentage. I think.
This might be it.
It might be. He's had a bunch of injuries throughout his career. Like, I don't know, but I would love to see him be able to contribute in a winning environment. That would be really cool because he's awesome and he was great for the Knicks. He seems like a great dude, and who the hell would want to play in that situation at the moment?
I don't know if any of the Pistons want to play in that situation at the moment. The Sasser kid looks really. I'm not gonna get Andrew yelling at me for too much Pistons talk, but the Sasser kid looks good.
Yeah.
Okay. I wore my Julius Caesar t-shirt because I really wanted to give this to him, and I'll let you. Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know who you're gonna pick. Julius. Here's the best thing I can say about Julius. I still don't feel like Julius is playing. I'll say anywhere. I was gonna say anywhere close to his best ball, but like, man, when he was rolling last season, there were weeks at a time where it was like, I mean, think about it. Like, he made All-Star over Jalen Brunson, and he made All-NBA over Jalen Brunson, and like, yeah, those of us who obviously watch the team every game knew that was a little, something was maybe a tad off, but at the same time, none of us could really argue like vehemently with it because of how good Randall was for pretty like most of the year, like after an iffy maybe first month and a half or so. And like the Toronto game was the first game that again, maybe was it his best game? Was the second best game, third best game? It was the first time that I was like watching a version of the guy that was close to last year when he was at his best last year. And to your point earlier, the shooting still hasn't come around. So like I still have all the faith in the world that guy is coming, and that this off year, on year, or odd year, even year, whatever you want to call it, thing will subside. And it was just good to see his best because they need it, because it makes it, as you said so many times, it makes them a different team when he's rolling. That's really all there is to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know if the shooting is going to come around with this guy. It could very well not. He is volatile. His shooting has waxed and waned in the most extreme ways over the course of his career and his career with the Knicks. Yep. He's at 28% from three now. He's right now under 60% at the rim, which would be the first time in his career since his rookie year.
But it's been a lot better at the rim.
But it has gotten better. Seems to be getting some explosiveness back. But we're talking about a guy who's fourth percentile in effective field goal percentage right now still. So, I first position, I should say. So I don't know whether the shooting is going to come around or not. I assume the rim percentage will, but one thing I'll say is he is 8 for 20 from the corner, and he's only taken 20 from the corner, and they don't ever get him any corner threes. And like, I think it would be helpful to once in a while get him in the corner and let him get some looks from there. That's just a side point. But in lieu of that, of the shooting coming around, if he can be a freaking battering ram into the paint where it's like he is going to beat down your gates to the rim until you send reinforcements. And when you send reinforcements, that opens up weaknesses elsewhere, and he finds them. And that version of Julius that you saw against Toronto can be an extremely impactful player, and he was in that game. So, he just draws a ton of attention. He's become a very good passer, finding shooters all over the floor. He can do it with crazy strength from crazy angles. It's hard to prevent him from making those passes because he's so damn strong, and he can deal with all your digs and your holds and your grabs and still get it out and find even DiVincenzo in the corner for a three in the fourth. Like, all those plays were just exceptional. So even if the shooting doesn't come around, there's hope that he can be a really good player for them this year, as he's been this week. So I assume that is your choice for the game ball. I think it's a noble one.
6.2 assists over his last 9 games, Julius Randle. So I like that. I could live with that.
It's delicious.
It is your turn, my friend.
You know what? I'm going Devo.
Whoa! Okay.
Yeah, I'm going Devo.
Okay, I like it.
Here's why. Here's why. I think it took him a little bit of time, as should be expected, to kind of find his role here and figure it out. And he had some performances early that were really good, but it was really uneven. There were some performances that were dreadful. Like, he's just now, it all makes so much sense that he's here and what he's doing and the chemistry he has with his Nova boys, but even how he's fit in any other lineup. Like, he's just such an easy fit. The way he moves, the way he shoots, obviously the shooting's been outrageous of late. The way he locked down Cade, as I mentioned late in that game, where he can make an impact in a lot of different ways. The way, he adds a dimension to the defense that used to really struggle to force turnovers. Well, when he's in the game, they don't. And that, Mitch has changed in that sense too this year, where he's forcing turnovers, but Devo is a player type that they just never had, where on the perimeter, he's poking and prodding and gambling, but in a healthy way, to just generate a little bit more kind of high impact plays on the defensive end that get them easy offense. So this week of ball just kind of hammered home what an intelligent signing that was. He's the perfect guy for this team. He makes all the sense in the world for this team. And so, yeah, I'm going to give it to Donte DiVincenzo.
I like it. I will only just quickly add, I love Donte DiVincenzo. He's a fun guy to watch too. He's like just a fun player to root for.
He is.
Since we didn't, neither of us gave a game ball to Jalen Brunson. It is, especially since, and I'm just looking at the East right now. I actually think it would be like a major upset at this point if he was not on the All-Star team, presuming he continues to play relatively as he's playing now and he stays healthy. Like, there's not 12 players in the Eastern Conference. I'm just looking right now, like, figure Orlando gets 2. Orlando will get, I don't think they're getting more than 1. And I'm not even like,
sorry, you said Orlando twice. Milwaukee gets 2, what were you going to say?
No, did I say Boston gets 2?
Boston gets 2.
Orlando will get 1. Milwaukee's going to get their 2. Mm-hmm. Philly's going to get their 2. That's 7. Mm-hmm. Skipping New York for a minute. Hallie's in. That's 8. Miami could get 2.
Bam and Jimmy? Is Jimmy been an All-Star this year?
I don't know.
I think Bam should get it. If you're asking me, I think Bam's a lock, I think. Or should be.
Give them 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's 10. The Cavs are not. Look, the Cavs could go and rattle off 15 wins in 20 games. They have the talent, but as of right now, it's just Mitchell. They're not getting another All-Star.
No, Garland's been a little down this year.
Yeah,
interestingly.
So that's 11, and you're not telling me anyone on the Hawks. You're not telling. Barnes. You mentioned Barnes, and Barnes has been really good. So, like, I guess theoretically there's a world, but like, I'm putting Brunson in over Barnes with all due respect to Barnes. I'm putting Brunson in over Jimmy. Yep. I gotta say, I'm gonna I know Orlando's whatever their record is. Brunson's going in over Paolo.
Yep.
And you could honestly, you can make an argument that like the Celtics have the best record, so they're going to get 2. But like, after Tatum, who's the guy on that team that's like, he has to be on the All-Star team, you know?
Yeah, no one. It's a collective. It's like the top 6 is just so good that they're beating everybody. But it's Tatum being exceptional, and it's then the rest of those 5 guys all being excellent, but not necessarily All-Star worthy on their own.
Yeah,
I think I would bet he gets in. I also think there's going to be like a little bit remorse from last year, where this guy hasn't gotten any recognition yet, because he didn't make All-Star, he didn't make All-NBA. He's clearly that level player. Yep. And with Julius, and look, obviously the Knicks keep winning, it becomes even less, because he's going to be the best candidate. So it's going to be like, if they can, again, stay 6-7 games above 500 by the time the voting starts, I would put a lot of money that he's going to be an All-Star.
Yep. Me and you both. Okay.
No. You know what? Let me say one more thing about Brunson before we move on, because there was one, this week was interesting. There was one game, the Charlotte game, which was a very unique game from him. Was that the game where he was 5 for 9 for 12? Was that right? That was Charlotte?
I'm looking it up right now. They all run together for me too. So don't feel bad. So the Charlotte game, Brunson Played 33 minutes. He was 5 of 9 from the field.
That's the game.
Yeah.
And I want to shout him out. I want to shout him out for that game, even though it was not his normal game, because he wanted to get Julius going early. Julius had the matchup.
Yep.
Julius had been struggling. Everything we're talking about with Julius this week really got started in that game, and it was Brunson, I think, very purposefully
took one shot in the first quarter,
purposefully deferring in the first quarter, especially, and then even throughout the game.
Yep.
And then to close out the Detroit game, Brunson had 40. He was hanging on 39 for a while.
Yeah.
Who did he go to down the stretch at every possession? Julius Randle. That's your freaking leader. That's your freaking leader, because he gets it, because he understands how much he needs the guy, and he understands how he needs to get him going, both at the beginning of games, and now Julius has the confidence to close games, because in Detroit, he freaking closed that game. So props to that dude for being as amazing as he's been, the all-star that he's going to be, and then understanding how to keep his running mate in the right frame of mind going forward, get him going, get him his confidence that he needs to make this team go to where they need to go.
Semi-related point. I don't think the numbers will have changed. Yeah, because the Toronto game wasn't a crunch time situation. Julius' crunch time numbers historically have not been good. This year they're okay. They're fine. Like, they're players never shoot as well. Well, some players shoot actually better in the clutch, like Jalen Brunson. Like Jalen's crunch time numbers are still like the best on the team, but Julius is not far off. Good job pointing that out. I'm happy we mentioned that. Okay, no one's going to detention because the Knicks didn't lose this week, so we don't put anyone to detention when they don't lose a game. And we're also not doing predictions because we don't know what games we're
This is a wild times in the NBA, huh?
Yeah, we can predict 2 games, maybe we'll predict 3 games. We don't know who the second opponent is going to be. So in lieu of that, Andrew has instructed us, we are each going to give a prediction for the in-season tournament finals. We're going to pick a winner and a runner-up. Hold on, let me look and remind myself of the freaking bracket. NBA IST bracket. I know who they are, but I just want to have it in front of me so it's easier for me to think. I'll kill some time and I'll say who the teams are so you could get yourself in the right state of mind to make this pick. So it is the Lakers facing off against the Suns. It is the Pelicans facing off against the Kings. It is the Knicks and the Bucks, and then it is the Pacers and the Celtics. I think I know which way I'm going.
I'm going to go Milwaukee over Sacramento.
Sacramento?
I love Sacramento.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Like, I love them. I think they're an excellent regular season team.
Okay.
When Fox is healthy. I think they're really hard to play. And I mean, their record with Fox has been something phenomenal.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm going that. I think I like, look, Tuesday night, the Knicks could win. It's in Milwaukee.
Absolutely, they could win.
I think Milwaukee is
Bucks haven't been playing well.
They haven't been playing well, but the record, like, they're finding ways, and Lillard being still one of the best clutch players in the world helps. I just think at some point soon they're going to find the groove, and I wonder if this in-season tournament opportunity is going to kind of get them there. Like, they're going to use it as an opportunity, like high leverage games, to kind of really find themselves, kind of find their stride, get some swagger. I could just see it being a launching off point for them. So that is my very scientific answer to why I am saying Milwaukee over Sacramento.
I will go.
Say Knicks. Say it.
No. Look, if
coward.
Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea how much I would lose my shit if they won this thing?
Man, I would. It'll be an epic day on Twitter. I'll tell you that.
Oh my Lord. I'm gonna go Boston over. I'll go Boston over Phoenix. I like how Phoenix is playing. And I know
is Bradley Beal ever coming back, or is just he's not a thing?
He played 2 games this year.
What is going on with that? They're really good. What they've done?
No Porzingis worries me, by the way, but I think
me too.
They were clearly taking this in-season tournament shit very seriously. The Celtics.
Mazzulla's a weirdo. I gotta say, he's a weirdo.
Strange bird. I think even without Porzingis, they will have enough to.
That they could. They're really good. Boston's really good, but yeah, without Porzingis, they kind of run out of options. The Bucks get really big if they don't have Porzingis on the floor.
That's true,
but not not to say what Phoenix has done that's really smart, and you saw it in the Knicks game. I know Andrew doesn't like me but they've surrounded all these stars with these dudes who are some of the best offensive rebounding wings in the league. The numbers say it. I mean, Okogie, Goodwin.
Okogie's he's like one of the best rebounding wings ever.
Goodwin's up there this year. I know in offensive, and they've encouraged those guys like Gordon shoots, Booker shoots, Durant shoots, just go get the ball. And it's a freaking handful to deal with. It's one thing to surround these stars with low end role players, which they have, but they've strategically done it in a way where it's but we can find something where they'll complement our stars in a very unique way. It's not just
the Lakers who look, the Lakers got it right the 1 year and then they went and fucked it all up and they're still trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Right. And if you can't find kind of low cost, really good shooting, which it's hard to find, shooting's just expensive. So to find guys who will complement in this very specific way where it's our stars aren't going to miss much, but when they miss, we're going to get 30% of the rebounds. It's just really, really smart. I don't know how intentional that was because I know they signed a bunch of other guys who aren't necessarily in the rotation all the time, but to kind of put this group together, I thought it's just an interesting team building strategy that I think has largely worked so far for them.
I think they purposefully threw shit against the wall. Yuta Watanabe, didn't he shoot 48% from three last year or some insane number? Yeah. Maybe it wasn't that high, but
by the way, that's an example of low cost shooting that I think was really smart too.
Isn't he getting on a minimum? I wonder sometimes how guys like this not fall through the cracks, but then you look at Boston, a guy like Sam Hauser, that. I don't know if he was undrafted or a second round pick or whatever, but they have him. Yeah. These teams, it does feel sometimes like the rich get richer, but you have to be smart and you have to be purposeful in what you're doing. Okay, that's it. We have a couple announcements, so let's do those. So first things first, Study Hall episode tomorrow on playback at 6 p.m. Join live in the description of this episode. Andrew writes tomorrow. I think he means Monday, right?
Sure.
Probably.
Why are you asking me? I don't know.
I thought maybe you'd have some.
I will listen when it comes out, whenever it comes out, because it's good content. But I don't know when it comes out.
There it is. Pre-game pod with Ty Windich of the Euro Step drops on Tuesday at 7 a.m. to get you fully prepared for the in-season tournament. It's not a quarterfinal game. That's not what they're calling it. It's the knockout round. You have to be very purposeful and specific. Also, check out the Knicks Film School merch store. Again, you are going to Knicks Film School. That is SKOOL.com. Whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, any other holiday, people love gifts, love opening shit up, and there's some good merch on there, some really cool stuff. I just reminded myself I have to order something for my wife because she said she wants one of the hoodies on there. And then last, certainly not least, thank you to everybody who shared their Spotify Wrapped. That's the name of the thing, right? Spotify Wrapped.
Absolutely. I don't know. Sure.
And for the people who listen to us as much as you did this year, I'm laughing not because I don't appreciate every single person who has ever downloaded an episode of the show, but because there's so many things out there on social media that I can't keep track of it all. But I did see those people that shared the fact that we were on their top 5 list. And if I didn't respond to you, I apologize. I tried to respond to as many people as I could, just with a genuine thank you, as I will say now. Thank you to everybody. Whether you shared your list, whether you didn't. Again, if you're someone that tunes into the show once in a blue moon, we appreciate that because there's so much fucking content out there. And a lot of it's really good. And, we try to put one foot in front of the other and make the best. So thanks for giving us a chance. Benjy Ritholtz, anything you want to say before you get out of here?
Nope. Just echo the sentiment. we appreciate everybody. We appreciate all your feedback. We appreciate all your follows, likes, loves, 5 stars. It means a lot. It helps us out so that we can keep putting out the great stuff that we all put out. Give a follow to anybody that contributes to Knicks Film School. If you only follow a couple of us, please follow all of us because everybody on this team is amazing. Really, really amazing. So we have a roster somewhere. Just hit the follow button on everybody. Just make sure because you'll be better for it. You'll be smarter for it.
And speaking of being smarter, shout out to DJ and XJ who did a phenomenal job on the post game with Toronto. I listened to all 3 parts of that, and they were all great. Yeah, man, it's funny because like you and DJ are both like obviously the film guys, but he'll like the way he goes about looking at stuff and analyzing stuff is like slightly different from the way you do, which I love that. And then XJ obviously brings the analytical bump, which is always great. Okay, enough for me. Again, shout out to APJP for producing this episode. Shout out to Andrew for pulling the strings. Thank you, Benji. As always, I am feel blessed to be in the company of your basketball knowledge and just you generally as a person. And thanks everybody for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We will be back with all the stuff we just talked about. And then obviously, if you're looking ahead, I'll be on the post game after the Bucks game, hopefully celebrating a win. But we will see. All right. Talk to everybody later. Peace out.
Bye all.